Outside the palace walls, life continued in silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of things ignored. People were born, they worked, they aged, they suffered, they died. And inside the palace, Siddhartha Gautama knew none of it, at least not directly. Yet something had begun to stir within him, a quiet restlessness, a sense that the world he knew was incomplete, polished, curated, protected from truth. The walls that once felt safe now felt distant. The palace was full of sound, yet something essential was missing. One day, Siddhartha spoke to his charioteer, Channa, not loudly, not defiantly, simply with curiosity. He asked to leave the palace, just for a moment, just to see the city. King Suddhodana hesitated, but believing that the illusion could hold, he allowed it. And so, for the first time in his life, Siddhartha passed through the palace gates. The air outside felt different, heavier, raw. The streets were uneven, the sounds unfamiliar, the faces unfiltered. And then Siddhartha saw him, an old man, bent, fragile. His back curved under the weight of time. His hair was white, his skin loose and weathered, his steps slow, uncertain. Siddhartha had never seen such a body before. He turned to Channa, confused. "What is wrong with this man?" Channa answered gently. "He is old, my prince. This happens to all who live long enough." The word struck deeper than Siddhartha expected. Old. The concept was familiar, but the reality was not. Until that moment, youth had felt permanent, beauty eternal, strength unbreakable. But here stood proof that the body does not obey desire, that time reshapes everything it touches. Siddhartha watched the man disappear into the crowd, and something inside him shifted. If this happens to him, then it happens to everyone, including me. The chariot returned to the palace, but Siddhartha did not return unchanged. Days passed, yet the image remained, the curve of the spine, the trembling hands, and the quiet dignity of decay. The second journey came soon after. Again, Siddhartha rode beyond the gates. This time he saw a man lying on the ground, his body thin, his breath shallow, his face twisted in pain. Others stood nearby, helpless. Siddhartha felt his chest tighten. "What is this?" he asked. Channa answered, "This is sickness. No one escapes it. Sickness, not punishment, not failure, but something woven into life itself. The strongest fall, the beautiful weaken, the powerful collapse." Siddhartha felt fear rise for the first time, not fear of danger, but fear of inevitability. If the body can betray us, what can truly be trusted? The palace felt smaller when he returned, the music louder, the laughter thinner. The third journey followed. This time, silence met them on the road. A group of people walked slowly, their heads lowered. Between them, a body wrapped in white cloth, still, unmoving. Siddhartha stopped breathing for a moment. "What are they doing?" he whispered. Channa replied, "They are carrying the dead." Dead, the word echoed inside him. This man's life has ended, as all lives do. Siddhartha felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Everything he had known until that moment collapsed inward. All joy, all beauty, all love, temporary, destined to end. He returned to the palace in silence. That night he could not sleep. The images replayed again and again. Old age, sickness, death. The walls could not keep them out anymore. And then came the fourth journey. On a quiet road, Siddhartha saw a man unlike the others. Calm, barefoot, carrying nothing but a bowl. His face was peaceful, untroubled. He walked without urgency, without fear. Siddhartha felt drawn to him. "Who is this?" he asked. Chana replied, "He is a renunciant, a seeker. He has left the world behind to find truth." Something ignited within Siddhartha. For the first time, he saw a path that did not end in decay, not denial, not pleasure, but understanding. That night, the palace slept, but Siddhartha remained awake. He walked through silent halls, past flickering lamps, past walls that once defined his world. He looked upon his wife, his child. Love filled his heart, and sorrow followed. How can I protect them if I do not understand suffering itself? The question no longer allowed rest. Siddhartha did not yet leave, but something irreversible had begun. The illusion had shattered, and once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. That night, the prince did not escape the palace, but the palace had already lost him. The path ahead was still unclear, but the direction was set, and the silence before dawn carried the weight of a life about to change forever. When Siddhartha returned to the palace, nothing had changed, and yet everything had. The walls were the same, the halls were the same, the voices, the music, the scent of incense in the air. But Siddhartha was no longer the same man who had left. He moved through the palace as if through a dream. Familiar faces passed him. Servants bowed. Voices called his name. But his attention was elsewhere. His mind returned again and again to what he had seen. The old man, the sick man, the lifeless body, the calm renunciant. They appeared in his thoughts without warning, not as images alone, but as questions. Unavoidable questions. That evening, Siddhartha sat among dancers and musicians. Golden lamps flickered above them. Soft fabrics brushed against polished stone. Laughter filled the room. Once this would have felt like joy. Now it felt fragile. He watched the dancers move, their bodies young and graceful. And he wondered how long before time bends them too. How long before sickness enters their breath? How long before silence replaces their laughter? The music continued, but Siddhartha heard something else beneath it, the sound of impermanence. He excused himself quietly and walked alone through the palace corridors. The floors reflected his footsteps. The lamps cast long shadows along the walls. Every corner of the palace had been built to deny suffering, to hide it, to pretend it did not exist. Yet now Siddhartha could see through the illusion. The palace was not protection, it was avoidance. That night Siddhartha did not sleep. He lay awake, staring into the darkness. The questions returned again and again, like waves against the shore. Why must the body age? Why must it weaken? Why must everything that lives eventually die? He had been taught many things. Politics, poetry, philosophy, but none of them answered this. No ritual, no luxury, no power. As dawn approached, Siddhartha rose and walked to the garden. The air was cool, the world quiet. He watched the sky slowly change color. Even the night fades, he thought. Nothing remains. Later that day, Siddhartha spoke with his father. King Suddhodana listened, but did not hear. He reassured his son with gentle words, with promises of stability, with visions of the future, a kingdom to rule, a family to protect, a legacy to preserve. But Siddhartha felt no comfort in these things. Power could not stop aging. Wealth could not cure sickness. A crown could not command death to turn away. The king believed distraction would restore balance. More celebrations were arranged, more pleasures offered, but pleasure had lost its power. Siddhartha could feel it clearly now. Everything built on conditions will collapse. That realization did not bring despair. It brought clarity. He began to observe his own mind. When pleasure arose, he watched it fade. When fear appeared, he watched it pass. When attachment tightened his chest, he observed its grip. He saw that suffering did not come only from pain. It came from clinging, from wanting things to remain what they are not meant to be. This understanding did not yet free him, but it changed the way he saw the world. At night, Siddhartha stood on the balcony overlooking the sleeping city. Torches flickered in the distance. Homes lay silent beneath the stars. Somewhere beyond those lights, people were growing old, falling ill, dying. And somewhere others were searching, seeking answers beyond comfort. The renunciant returned to his thoughts, calm, unburdened. He owned nothing, yet seemed at peace. How could a man with nothing be free, while a prince with everything felt imprisoned? The question no longer frightened Siddhartha. It guided him. Days passed, yet the palace felt increasingly unreal. He smiled when expected, spoke when required, but inside a quiet separation had formed. Siddhartha had not left the palace, but the palace no longer held him. One evening he returned to his chambers and looked upon his sleeping family. Yasodhara lay peacefully beside their child. Love filled his heart, deep, unshakable, and with it came sorrow. Not because he wished to leave them, but because he wished to understand life deeply enough to protect them from suffering. And he knew now that protection could not come from walls or power. It could only come from truth. That night, Siddhartha sat in silence. He did not plan. He did not decide. He simply observed the breath entering, the breath leaving, thoughts rising, thoughts dissolving. For the first time, he did not run from discomfort. He stayed with it. And in that stillness, a direction began to form. Not a destination, but a necessity. He would have to leave the palace. Not in anger, not in rebellion, but in honesty. He did not yet know when. He did not yet know how. But he knew this. Once suffering is seen clearly, a life built on ignorance can no longer continue. The night deepened. The palace slept. And Siddhartha Gautama sat awake, between the life he had known and the truth he had not yet touched. The world outside waited, and so did his destiny.